I dare you to fantasize what you could do with a little extra time in your day. Get your mind out of the gutter. Today, I want to tell you why you should be a good steward of your time. Stick around. Hello, hello, hello. You are listening to Self Care Sunday on the Manifest on Purpose show. I am your host, Kimberly. It just happens to be my goal to help you become the best version of yourself. Thank you so much for stopping by, sharing your time and energy with me today. Thank you for sharing this with your friends and family. And thank you for subscribing here and on the website at manifestonpurpose.net. The God in me loves the God in you. If you have comments or if you have some topic suggestions or even questions that you would like to ask, make sure you email me at connect@kimberly.com. Once again, connect, CONNECT, at Kimberly, KIMBALEY.com. Speaking of fantasies, let me tell you about a fantasy of mine that just happens to align with today's topic. Before I jump right into it, first let me just say I enjoy peace, solitude, and privacy. Some people may go as far as saying that I'm a loner. However, I'm not a loner at all. I just enjoy me time. I've grown to understand over the years that there's nothing wrong with that. What about you? Do you like to spend time alone? It's refreshing for me. Hopefully, there's a lot of other people that like to spend time alone. When you spend time with yourself, you get to know yourself more and you also get more done. Well, you know what I say sometimes. Be careful what you wish for. You just may get it. And last week, it just so happened to be that way for me. I did something that a lot of people would flip if it happened to them. My cell phone finally blanked out on me. I could not see the screen. I couldn't see any of my contacts, any messages coming through. I could not answer any call. The phone is just gone completely until I get a new one, of course. But right now, I'm not so sure that I'm in a rush to get that new phone. And I'm going to tell you why. And it's all centered around this topic. Now, I admit, the first day or so, it was a bit different. It was like a panic at first because I did not have my phone and I relied on my phone for just about everything. Fortunate thing for me is I still had my computers on standby, so I was still good. But at the same time, I was not able to communicate with most people the way that I was before. It wasn't boring at all. In fact, it became very productive for me. It was because I had so much time on my hands from not having to answer calls, screen calls, check messages. It was just so much more that I was able to do now that this phone was not stuck in my hand as much as it was. Let me tell you about this technology. And this is something that I've talked about over the last couple of years. We get too accustomed to having all of this technology. My dream, my fantasy was to be living in a place where It was just like the old days when it took you years to find out information about something or news about something, where you could just live in peace. You hunted for your food, you gathered your food, you prepared it, you took care of your family. Things just seemed so much simpler then. Of course, I'm on the outside looking in. I don't have much experience in that area, even though I did grow up without a lot of the amenities that we have today. That even was very peaceful to me. Needless to say, this past week has been amazing. I've been able to learn so many different things, and as a workaholic, I was excited to get so much extra work done. It almost felt as if I had extra time in my schedule. Let's just talk about the two pieces of technology that we use the most: our phones and the television. Well, we'll start with the phone since I started off talking about the phone. A lot of times, the first thing that most people do in the morning when they get up, open their eyes, is pick up their phone. And I know because I've been there. It took a while for me to reprogram myself not to even look at my phone for the first couple of hours of the day. Let me tell you about a few things that can do for your day. Remember, I always talk about how the first thing in the morning sets your tone for the day. Suppose you get up first thing in the morning and you have a bad message, or you get a bad notification from social media. That's your whole day ruined, because automatically, before you can even awaken to this reality, you're focused on something else. You're focused on somebody else's problem. And I say somebody else's problem because it's not yours at that moment until you took it on. Because remember, you're coming from the dream world. You have no idea what's going on in this reality until you tap into it. That's one bad thing about tapping into the phone first thing in the morning as soon as you wake up. Another one of those things is it takes focus off the day ahead of you. That morning time, as I said earlier, is supposed to be time for you to get yourself together. Think about it. When you first wake up, most of the time you're still cloudy. It takes time for you to adjust to this reality. Once you tap into that telephone, you start pushing yourself to do things that you feel like need to be completed right away. Here's how it works. I may very well get an email first thing in the morning, but I don't know that email is there because that is not my time to check emails for today. When I receive notifications on my phone letting me know that I have a new email, I feel pressured to open it right away. Thus, I stop exactly what I'm doing and go to open and respond to that email. That takes away time from something else that you can be doing. A lot of people think that we can multitask. I'm going to tell you some truth about that. The mind is only designed to do one thing at a time. Although we think that we're multitasking, we got these things down packed, really we don't. It takes less time to complete one task that you're focused on than it does to complete multiple tasks at a time. So whenever you complete that one task and give all of your focus to that task, you're going to do it much quicker than if you were to multitask. Even though it seems like we're doing our thing when we're multitasking, we're delusioned by that. Even during the time that my phone was working, I had to set up certain boundaries, and I found that they work best for me. And the boundaries are: don't answer really early calls or really late calls. My grandmother used to tell me when the phone would ring at nighttime, after 9 o'clock, she wasn't answering it because after 9 o'clock, It had to be an emergency. And if it was an emergency, she couldn't do anything about it. She didn't drive, nor was she a doctor, so she could not help anyone. So she said there was no need for her to answer the phone. I found that to be true over the years. When I answer those real early calls or those real late calls, there's nothing good about them. So I had to go with my grandmother on that one. And I just use that word boundaries. That's the solution here for this cell phone problem. Boundaries. And in fact, it's not just for the cell phone, it's for the television too. But we'll talk about it when we get to the television. But for your phone, you have to establish boundaries to make sense of all of it. Don't get me wrong, the phones are a nice amenity to have. They are perfect in an emergency. They are perfect when someone needs to reach out to us. But at the same time, that thing that seems to be perfect, if taken the wrong way, it can become just the opposite. It could become trouble for you. Instead of adding minutes to your day, it can actually take away minutes from your day if you're not careful. Take it from me. Set up boundaries around your phone time and your phone usage. Instead of using it for your alarm to get up in the morning, go back to the old ways. Get an alarm clock. Set a nightly time that you're going to turn your phone off. Set a morning time so that you can turn your phone back on. And make sure that when you decide when you're going to turn your phone back on, you give yourself enough time to get your day started first. It's been a big conversation recently about the children using social media so much and how it's damaging the children, becoming addictive and whatnot. We can't entirely blame that on the children. We really can't entirely blame it on the social media companies. Who we have to really blame it on is the people that are teaching the children. Because in order for children to be able to do this and be able to learn these habits, they have to have seen it going on somewhere before. I'm just saying. So now this is turning into a call to action if you have children old enough to use the phone or social media. Also set up boundaries for them. That's important. And them seeing you do it is giving the guidance that they need to learn new behavior. And that brings us up to the television. Back in the day, we used to call it the television. Man, I'm going to tell you, there's so much science behind the television, and I'm just going to step into a little bit of it today to let you know how it can be harmful to you and how you need to set up boundaries for that as well. Subliminal messaging. When we think of anything with sub in front of it, think about the subconscious mind, because the word sub, the prefix, describes being beneath the surface. Think about a submarine beneath the surface. And back in the 80s, I know they talked a lot about subliminal messages on the television. When you think about it, especially the news, because a lot of people will say it's okay to look at television, but don't look at anything else but the news. And I'm trying to tell you is that the news is the main source for misinformation on the television. Because don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that everything you hear on the news is not true, but it's the media's job to make it sound good. It's the media's job to make you feel like it's truth. It's the media's job to make it feel interesting to you. So when you listen to these stories are given to you in a way that excites you, that captures your attention. And it may not necessarily be as bad as what they claim it really is. And the reason why I say bad is because I would say probably 95, if not more, percent of what you see on the news is something negative. Can I get an agreement on that? You do not get up and turn on your morning news and hear, today is going to be a fabulous day. No, they're going to tell you about how many murders happened last night. They're going to tell you about the destructive storm that came through. They're going to tell you about all of the stuff that's going in politics. They're going to tell you things that you probably don't want to hear. For example, let's go back to the days of COVID, the pandemic, and what was happening on the news at that time. When the pandemic first came, everybody was so afraid. People didn't want to be around others. In fact, it was almost forbidden for people to be around each other. People were in panic. You know, they had this ticker tape going over the bottom of the screen on the news that was telling the amount of deaths and the amount of people that contracted the illness. And for so many people, that was one of the scariest moments in their life. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't have taken it serious. I'm just saying, like my sister would say, they put 100 on 10. And what that means is they made it seem like it was a lot bigger than what it was, because there's been no cure discovered for this disease. However, you're not hearing about it as much, so people feel a whole lot safer. And that's not the only thing that is portrayed in that way in the media. So just keep that in mind. Not only that, we have commercials that speak to the emotions of people, consumers, even children. I remember growing up, watching television, every toy that they put on a commercial, I wanted it. And I had no problem asking my parents for it. But yet there's another problem with the media, especially television. It's the movies and the television shows that we see. Those things that are portrayed in some of those movies are sexual, violent, and scary. Frankly speaking, subliminal messages give you the impression that there is an intention for one thing, but really there's an intention for something else. For example, with the news, the intention is that we're going to inform you, but most people get scared. Same thing with our commercials. Same thing with the movies. The intention is to entertain, but what you get is something totally different. What you're getting is beneath the surface of what you're consuming. And bottom line, what it all boils down to is negative energy. You remember I told you before, you don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. And if you're looking at that stuff 24/7, these things are soaking into your subconscious mind and it becomes who you are. People don't take me seriously when I said you need to watch what you watch on television. They think it's a joke. But I have seen people, and this is one of the things that really has me so passionate about it. I knew this one older lady once that she believed everything she saw on the soap operas. She did not know that these were characters. She felt like they were real people and what was going on were real events. One of the characters died and she was depressed behind one of the characters dying because she thought this is something that happened in real life. Shakespeare said all the world's a stage and the people in it are merely players. They're characters in this big stage of life. So a lot of what we're seeing on that screen, that little stage, is what's playing out in the big stage of your life. That's why you have to be careful what you consume on television. A lot of it seems as if it's reality, but the question you must ask yourself is, can you sit and listen to a story for 2 hours that's a real life story and sit on the edge of your seat in excitement? No, nothing in life happens that exciting in 2 hours. But you know what's rewarding? What's rewarding is taking that 2 hours and learning something new about yourself, reflecting over your own story, taking time to be in solitude, taking time to be with yourself, read a book, learn something new, access the real wisdom and knowledge that's right there within you. Yes, I still watch TV from time to time, but the key is boundaries. Boundaries is always going to be the key. What are you watching? What can you learn from it? And most importantly, what can it download in your subconscious mind that does not need to be there? If it does download something in your subconscious that does not need to be there, you need to cut it off. And that's what the universe did for me this past week. It shut the noise down. And I'm going to say, I'm not mad at all. I was able to get so much done. I was able to learn so many new things. And I was able to learn even more things about myself. Your time is a precious commodity. There may even be times where you say to yourself, I wish there were more hours in a day so that I can get more done. And I'm here to tell you today that there can be, but you have to shut out the noise. Monitor your intake. Shave a couple of hours off your phone time every day. Shave off an extra episode from your television show today. Save time for yourself. You are the most important person in your world. It's up to you to take care of that. And the way to take care of that is to monitor what you take into your spirit. I love you to life. This is how you manifest on purpose. Let's prepare for meditation. If you are driving, this is not the time to do so. Please download this and save it for later. If you are not driving, please find your sacred space, the space that is comfortable for you, distraction-free and safe. Focus on your breathing. Enjoy your meditation.